And welcome back, everyone. And joining us today is our guests. We have the Chicago sludge metal noise rock band, These Beasts. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey.
Thank you very much for having an interest.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So you guys are touted as a very long genre sludge metal noise rock band. So what attracts you to this kind of music to the point of you guys wanting to start a band playing it?
Well, for me, this is Keith. I play the drums in the band. For me, the noise rock thing is kind of more, is the genre I'm more interested in. Mm-hmm. I've always, I sort of grew up in the 90s and hearing like all the noise rock from like Jesus Lizard and all the labels. Like Touch and Go and Skin Graft and stuff like that. I don't know. It was just, I liked metal a lot too, but for some reason, noise rock was just always more of my thing. And all the bands that I've been in the past have kind of been noise rock. So I guess it's just sort of in the genes for me.
What about everybody else?
Yeah, this is Chris. We all sort of came together just as a general friends, as like sort of a love of music. We all sort of had this Venn diagram of like bands that we were into, and so a lot of them sort of end up meeting in the middle. But we all have sort of a wide array of stuff that we're into. So I think just in general, like, you know, our music came about just from a general love of music that we all shared.
Yeah, it's like if we're usually on the same page, but if we're not on the same page, I like to think that we're always in the same chapter, if you know what I mean.
So were you know, like you said, you guys are all friends, you know, put this band together. Now, did you guys have like prior bands to this? And were all your prior bands, if you had any, playing similar kind of music?
Yeah.
For me, yeah, not in Chicago. I'm originally from Texas, but like during the 90s, I was in a bunch of noise rock bands. So none of them that went too far, but definitely, you know, went into the studio with a few of those. And yeah, I've never ventured out and played country or soul or blues. It's always been something that's kind of, you know, it always has had an aggressive nature to it, no matter what.
Yeah, this is Chris. Same for me. Yeah, I had a bunch of bands before, and yeah, quite a few of them, you know, were in the same nature. But I actually sort of grew up in a musical family, and so there was a lot of like country and blues and stuff like that. I grew up sort of learning.
And now,
yeah,
go ahead.
Is Todd. I was in bands. I'm from Ohio, so I mean, I was in one main band, and we were more stoner rock doom, I guess. At one point when we first started, we were a two-piece, and we were really into, both of us in the band were really into Godflesh, and I was really into like death metal and stuff way, you know, when I was younger. So, you know, maybe that's where like the sludge comes from, I guess. You know, I listened to a lot of earache bands way back in the day. Huge I Hate God fan, Iron Monkey. So I think that's a lot of where the screamo vocals come from. Mm-hmm. You know, the very screamy vocals is just my love of death metal and sludge in general. But yeah, I would say that the bands that I was in prior to These Beasts really weren't similar to this for me.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Todd there too. I feel like a lot of like riff ideas like end up coming from Todd, and then Keith comes in and starts, you know, jamming along with Todd, and then I sort of come in and paint the walls, if you will.
So now you guys released 2 EPs and are about to release your debut full length. So why was now's the time to release the full length instead of another EP?
I think time sort of gave us that option. Like with the first EP was sort of like, all right, let's get something out, you know, because we were a new band. The second EP sort of came about because like we were trying to do an EP, and then there were like, you know, some setbacks that we had, so we ended up just like recording those songs and putting those out, and then with this one, we wanted to do an EP, and then then we had the time to, so that just sort of like lent itself to it.
Yeah, personally, I really wanted to do a full length because I'm getting old and I want to put a full length out before I die.
Well, with this album too, right? You got a lot of dark things were going on for the past few years with lockdowns, illnesses, deaths, the whole world just changing. So how did this affect you guys in the writing of this album, both musically and lyrically?
For me, this is Chris. For me, it's sort of I don't think I intentionally wanted that to come out, but it ended up, just being sort of a cathartic way and therapeutic way of it coming out. So it wasn't necessarily intentional for me, but it was definitely a way for me to personally sort of deal with, the death and like whatnot, stuff like that was going on around me personally.
For me, it didn't really have much of an impact just because, like I was saying earlier, I guess I've always just had an attraction to playing things that were kind of heavy and, often dark or whatever. It's just that's the sort of the way it's always been. So, I'm sure, under the hood a little bit, it had some effects, subconsciously or whatever. But personally, I still wanted to kind of get in there and just bash away like normal.
Yeah.
Well, was the luxury, did you guys have a luxury of like time making this one? Take your time, you could go back and tweak things, and you don't like this, you could do it without having to rush because you got nothing else to do because you're all locked down and shit?
I would say the luxury of time was just being able to write, right? So there were no shows, and we really didn't take a lot of time off when the pandemic hit. We were still going to the practice space and wearing our masks and stuff. I guess the biggest difference is that we practice in this really big building that has hundreds of practice space rooms, and it was a ghost town. So it was nice and quiet, and we really got to take some time and had really no distractions. So that part of it was kind of nice.
Yeah, we're pretty steady. Like we practice 2 days a week, so we put all those practices together. And I do think we're a little slow to come up with new material, but I think definitely not succumbing to being scared of COVID during that whole time at the practice space. It definitely helped for sure. Because just like Todd said, it was kind of eerie when you would walk in that building. Because at least there's usually, if there's not bands in there, there's drummers in there trying to I got to get faster and just bashing away, blah blah blah, almost all the time. So it was tumbleweeds are flying around. It was a ghost town.
Yeah, it sort of became our hangout too. It's like, so we were just almost always there if we weren't working or whatever. So with nothing going on, we just definitely had a lot of time to work on stuff.
Well, the new album coming out in April is called Cares, Wills, Wants. So what are the cares, wills, and wants that you speak of?
Hit it, Todd.
Yeah.
So that's just that's lyrics from Trapdoor, and basically the song is about how little things can take down big things. So no matter how big you are, no matter how many cares, wills, or wants you have, something can take it away from you, right? So cancer could take it away from you, which is something you can't see. Viruses such as COVID can take those things away from you. So everybody has cares, wills, wants, but at the end of the day, you really don't have a choice on what could eventually take you down, and it's probably something that's going to be very small. So that's kind of where the lyrics for that came from.
And now, how did you guys approach this album musically?
Well, for me, to be honest, like, and I know, there's a stereotype that's like, oh, it's just the drummer. They don't really have much musical input, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I don't know if we really think about that much. We just, our love for music is the main thing. And when we go in there, it's sort of like we're just trying to, come up with a good dance, where everybody feels comfortable. And those are usually the songs that stick. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of like our main musical way to progress, I think, is just to make sure you have that sort of sweet spot where, you can just kind of tell in your gut everything feels good. And if something doesn't, then we just scrap it.
So you guys didn't do anything too crazy, wander too far off the path doing this album? No polka beats or anything like that? Yeah.
No, there's always a fridge filled with beer. That's about it.
Yeah.
So what are some of these songs about then?
All right, Todd or Chris, I'm just the drummer.
All of a sudden, you're just the drummer.
For me, the stuff. So Todd and I sort of share lyrical writing duties. So for me, a lot of the stuff was just what I wrote about was sort of all the stuff that was happening around me at the time. Because it was hard not to sit around and not think about the climate and the world we were living in at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say the same. I usually write about, whatever's going on in my life, relationships, emotions, things that interest me, things that maybe scare you or aren't pleasant, but they're in your mind. Relationships are one of those things. World events, no specific theme. Mm-hmm. Usually when I'm writing lyrics, it's usually basically what's on my mind at that time.
No flowers or bunnies.
Aww.
Not yet.
Not yet. And even the cover art, kind of plaguey, with the dog wearing the plague mask. So tell us a little bit about the art here.
So the art is by Aliyah, and that's my partner, and the dog is one of our dogs that passed away during lockdown and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And passed away at home one morning, and the mask is just sort of a play on the plague mask and everything. And so it's just sort of a shout out to Oscar, and just also sort of a shout, or just like a reference to sort of the overall like theme of the album, if you will.
And just the way it's done, it fits so well, you know what I mean, with the whole thing. I mean, even so, it's like a tribute to your poor beloved dog, but it really fits in with what's going on with with the album as well. So it all came out pretty cool. Yeah.
And it sort of looks like he's like smoking like a bong too.
It does kind of look
mask,
That's interesting. I never thought about it. Yeah, Alla's an amazing artist. She also did the art on the previous release, the larger EP with the cats on it. She's really amazing, and she can capture some really dark images really well. I never thought about it as a bong. That's funny. I always thought about it as like almost throwing up like virus goo.
Now you're always going to think of it as a bomb.
I know. I didn't realize Oscar liked to get high.
He would sit close to me when I would get high. So.
And now the vinyl comes out in a few variants. What is there, like pink and green or something like that?
Yeah. You're hearing it here first.
And now, do you guys have a big album release show planned?
We do. It's a local show in Chicago, but it's set for April 21st, which is the release date, and that's at G-Man Tavern, right next door to the famous well-known Metro, big venue in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. And you guys got other shows planned for the year going on?
Yeah, we've got another, both sort of local shows. In May, we're playing at a place called Livewire with Sanford, who recorded our album, has recorded the past 2 albums. He has a new band called Black Cross Hotel, so we'll be playing with them in May.
Oh, cool.
And then in July, we have a show scheduled for this brewery called Sound Growler. They're having I believe it's 5-year anniversary.
Oh, nice.
They're having a festival outside, and we're playing that.
So before we go, throw out like the links to where people can pick up merch and follow the band and all that kind of stuff.
These Beasts Bandcamp. We have all our merch and albums up there. You can find all the links through thesebeasts.com, and we have Instagram, These Beasts Shy, CHI for Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a Facebook page, These Beasts. And, but yeah, you can find all the links through thesebeasts.com.
So there you guys have it. These Beasts have a new album coming out in April called As Wills Wants. There's no and in there. On Magnetic Eye Records. You can check their socials and their Bandcamp to see what they're up to and find links for merch. And guys, thank you so much for stopping by to tell us a little bit about the band and the new album, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much.